Okay, we will get started. I am calling to order the Middleton School Committee meeting. Today is Monday, March 2nd, 2026. It is 5:30. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Any remarks? Did we have anybody sign up for remarks from the public? Costa?
Hi, Costa Prentakis. Have a couple of other meetings to get to, so I won't be able to be here during your budget discussions. So I just wanted to express that I hope that you make no further changes, to your budget from where you stand at this point. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay. Moving on to approval of minutes from the previous meeting. So in the drive, there are minutes from the February 2nd meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from February 2nd.
Second that motion.
All in favor of accepting and approving the minutes from the February 2nd meeting?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you very much. Moving on to reports from other committees. Anything from PTO?
They met last month. They sent out the March calendar. That one already came out in the folders. I didn't take a synopsis of everything, but they have the tickets out right now for the parent fundraiser that will be at game time. I don't know the date off the top of my head. But otherwise, I think everything's going as planned, and they have so many things on their calendar. Just keep a lookout for all the fundraisers that they're doing.
Thank you. Any other committees? I can speak briefly to CPAC. The CPAC will be hosting it was canceled because of a snow day this last week, but will be rescheduled for March 24th, which is a Tuesday. And it's a presentation entitled, Planning a Life, but it's to help families learn how to kind of build their village and gather resources as their kids get older. For families who may be interested, especially younger families, I would encourage younger families to attend. Though a lot of times when the word transition is out there for special ed families, then you think of 14 and older, but if people are looking and interested, I would encourage families of younger children to consider attending as well. That will be at the Masco Middle School Library at 7 o'clock on the 24th, and there is information on our social media as well. And that's all I have. Anything else from any other committees? Do we want anything town-wise from our meetings with them?
Middleton. We've had meetings with our ongoing meetings with our Middleton liaison group. Costa's part of that. Richard Gregorio is part of that. Michelle, Jackie, myself, and Steve. Those have continued to be productive meetings for sure, as we have navigated really since the fall, our budget discussions and our conversations. And we met with Select Board and FinCom on Saturday, February the 7th. So I think that was after our Monday meeting last time we met. And just kind of talked about where we were with the operating budget, gave the update. We didn't have the health insurance at that point when we met with the group at that day, so we kind of updated them on where we were. Health insurance info we'll talk about today. That came in middle of the month. And then this Saturday we have our capital meeting with the town. So that is, I think that's at the new spot now, right? I don't think we're here. I think we're over at...
I think they said it's over there,
Yeah.
yes.
And so that will be just capital to talk about the roof project, minor HVAC upgrade, And those would be really the two big things that we touch upon at the capital meeting on March 7th. So these ongoing meetings with our Middleton liaison team continues to be productive.
Okay. Nothing else there. We will move on to report of the superintendent.
Excellent, thank you very much. Jackie, good to see everybody. Just a couple of updates. Mr. Clifford will be in momentarily, just to talk a little bit about the roof project. And so while we wait for him, in the drive, you'll see a document that says ABCD door project. If you can double click on that. So we have continued to be engaged as we think about school safety and security. We have worked with the chiefs across all three towns, and the labeling of a building ABCD is a public safety manner in which when they approach a building, if they talk about the A side of the building in public safety, that's a very common vernacular. If they talk about the B side of the building, that's a very common vernacular. The same for the C and D side of the building. And typically, it's clockwise, and as you look at the Fuller Meadow picture at the top, again, this is the document that says ABCD door project. The A side is usually the street side of the building. And so as Fuller Meadow, if you think of where the A side is there, 114 runs parallel to that side of Fuller Meadow Elementary School. So that would be the A side of the building. And then you can see there what we have identified as the B side of the building. The back part is the C side of the building towards Brigadoon. And then the D side of the building is really the side parking lot there. At Fuller Meadow, it's the same thing. If you scroll down to Fuller Meadow, you'll see that the A side of the building is the street side. Excuse me, Hal Manning, thank you very much. The A side of the building is the street side of the building. And then again, you go clockwise all the way around. B, C, and D. Come on up, Steve. Good to see you. And so we have engaged in this work, and the next phase of this project, and Steve can give an update on this part as well, but we're going to be relabeling all of our doors. So that's an alphanumeric numbering system, and that will help us in this is both the inside of the doors and the exterior of the doors. So if you look at Hal Manning, I'm assuming, Steve, the front door is door 1 at Hal Manning?
Yes.
Yeah. So that front at door 1, it says it has a 1 on it, and we're going to relabel that A1 on both the inside and the outside of the building. And the reason for that is because if there's ever an emergency situation or a crisis situation, we can say to public safety, I'm on door A1. They might not know exactly where door A1 is, but they're going to know the A side of the building. So we'll eliminate 75% of the building. If someone's pulling up, they know, like, okay, A side of the building, I need to look for door A1. Same thing for the inside. It doesn't help us if people don't know what the alphanumeric numbering is. Oftentimes when you go into a school building, you don't see numbers on the inside of exterior doors. And we want people to be able to say, I'm at door B5. And now everybody will know, like, okay, I now need to look for door B5. So we have met with the police chiefs across all three towns with our maps and our alphanumeric system, and we have agreement on where we're going to land in this project in terms of the A, the B, the C, and the D. Steve and I have a meeting, I believe, tomorrow, with Chris Ryan. Chris is the executive director of the REC, the Regional 911 Center. And Middleton has been part of the REC for many years. Topsfield's been part of the REC for many years. Boxford just decided to, kind of leave the local dispatch endeavor and also go to the REC. So, as superintendent and as director of facilities, we're thrilled that all three towns are now with the REC. It's just helpful to have sort of one quarterback in a crisis type situation. And so we're going to meet with Chris tomorrow to go over, and his team, to go over our plans for all 6 schools, because this A, B, C, and D we're doing at all 6 buildings, and make sure that he is in agreement with what we have outlined in terms of relabeling all the doors. Steve, can you give a little update on sort of what you're thinking in terms of timing? And you've been working on potential signage, because you have to think about what can adhere to concrete and wood and metal and so on and so forth.
Yes. As the superintendent explained, once we get the meet with the regional dispatch director, we'll get his feedback. We've got a lot of good feedback from meeting with the chiefs. That's kind of allowed us to tweak our initial concepts of what we're using. We've given a lot of thought to reflectivity, and we want this system to be able to work at night in all situations, all conditions. So if a police car shines a spotlight a couple hundred feet away,
we want that signage to be very visible and legible. It's also going to work in similar fashions on the interior of the buildings. As this phase will add the interior numbering to every door that's existed on the exterior in the past phase. So once we iron out kind of the final product, we'll kind of double check our inventory, our counts by campus, and then we will initiate production with our vendor partner that we're working with on it. Can't speak to the exact turnaround time from the vendor to produce all the signage for all of our campuses. But as soon as that begins to flow, then we're going to mobilize and start doing the installation, and a little spring weather will be helpful, as most of the signage is predominantly going to be mounted with like an industrial double stick adhesive. So we're not making holes in a lot of different surfaces, because some of these could be on fiberglass doors, aluminum doors, steel doors, masonry walls, a whole variety of different systems and surfaces and materials. So we're trying to be as streamlined as we can with it, and also at the same time have a robust long-term solution to this issue.
Any questions from the committee on any of that? It's a good project to help always continue and ensure safety and security of our buildings, but happy to answer any questions anyone may have on that.
No, sounds pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And Steve, I don't know, are you in the drive?
Yeah, can we?
Yeah. It'll help orient the team towards, as we talk about the roof project. So in the Middleton Drive for tonight, you'll see the ABCD door project. Jeff's got it there if you need it.
Yep.
So if you can just kind of walk the committee through an update on where we are with the roof project with MSBA, I think that picture of Fuller will help as well if folks want to stay within that ABC door project, because that's a good overhead of Fuller Meadow. Steve can talk about the roof project that we'll be undertaking here at Fuller Meadow this summer, where we are with MSBA, where we are with funding, where we are with project development, so on and so forth.
So the roof project is moving along here at Fuller Meadow. Right now, our goal is to finish up our work on our 60% level design. So the architect's been working with other consultants and our owner's project manager to work that 60% level. We're also working with our commissioning agent, who's another consultant on the project team. And so everybody's going to basically do a thorough review on that 60%, add comments, add feedback. We'll incorporate it, and then it gets sent off to the MSBA just as a submission for record. So once we'll take any feedback they have for us, and then we will turn around and press forward to 100%. Our goal is to have the project advertised and bid ahead of town meeting. So when we're going into town meeting, I believe on May the 12th, we will have a pretty good sense of what the bid was, and if we have to make any adjustments to funding, we'll have opportunities to do that accordingly. So, but otherwise, it's going well. No real surprises. There is some HVAC components that we are undertaking as a matter of efficiency to some systems that are beyond life that are on the roofs that will be craning off anyway as we demo the roofs. But instead of putting that beyond life piece of machinery back up there, we'll be replacing that piece of machinery. So pretty standard course when we do these kind of projects. We did similar, the project we did back in 2015 here pretty much followed a very similar path. So I'm pleased with the progress we're making and the team that we have in place.
Can you orient folks to the picture there, Steve, looking at the ABCD overhead?
Yeah.
The part that will be taken on?
So in this picture, what it shows you is the white section, the white and tan, is very simply the work that we did in 2015. The other sections, starting down the end right corner, the shingled roof section of the gym, and then the lower wing, the lower classroom wing that runs along the back of the campus property. That's the major chunk of the work. And then moving up to the connector piece that connects the lower and upper wings, that gets done, as well as the modular buildings get done. So it's approximately a little bit under 41,000 square feet of roofing.
So all of the C side, the B side, and a little piece of the D side.
Yeah.
And for those of you that were on the roof when we did it, Michelle, you were there, I think, and I forget, was it Natasha at the time?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and we walked it before we did the SOI, so it just didn't make the cut back in 15, right?
Yeah, so back in 15, when we started the SOI for that project, and got approval and invitation to the program, all the work that I just described that we are doing, except for the modulars, those roofing systems were 19 years old. And the threshold for consideration under the state's program was 20. So we missed it by a year. So here we are, 11 years later, undertaking that piece that's now 30 years old, and addressing that. So once we're done, we'll be in fine shape here. The next roof that will be scheduled to be redone will be Howe Manning, and that's a ways off.
Questions, thoughts, feedback on any of that for Steve?
So as soon as everything's approved at town meeting, school's out, it's going to be,
Yeah, we took on a few extra snow days recently,
Yeah.
so I think we're last day around the 16th of June right now. So I'm anticipating the project being able to mobilize at some point during the week of the 21st. There'll be kind of a turnaround for staff to empty out rooms, or just kind of shut down their operations before we jump in.
Okay.
And I would say we should plan for, typically with a roof project, there's always little things that come up, and we navigate those things. Steve and now myself have done enough of these over the past 10 years, and Steve longer than that, to know that when you get into these projects, little things pop up along the way that we have to address, and, we'll bring anything to the committee, to keep you filled in, but it's certainly a process that we're very familiar with, I would say. And reimbursement was?
Reimbursement for this project is about 40 cents on the dollar.
Okay, so that's great. Good.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Steve, thanks for the update. And then just last item, meeting location. Paul talked about this at the beginning for Middleton School Committee. Jackie and I just wanted to put on the agenda to have a conversation with the whole committee. It sounds like the new facility, I think, move-in is happening this week with Town Hall. I don't know if police and fire are there yet, but I'm pretty sure Town Hall is moving into their location this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think, or something like that. And there'll be a room, I think, designated for boards and committees. Paul was saying, and Paul, I don't know if you can hear me, if you can pop out for a minute, because you'll probably say it better than I will, in terms of what the need may be, or the concern may be in terms of, I think it's maybe not being able to be live here in the future with all the technology that's going to be happening down at the new place. So I guess the question will be, and we can get clarity on that, but do we want to stay here and maybe not be live? Or do we want to, keep coming up, Paul, just say it, because you're the one living it, so. Thank you.
Well, all the equipment that's at the library and some that's here is moving up to the new building. The new building, I was there today, and the meeting room is beautiful. It's upstairs, and of course there's an elevator. We may put some of the equipment coming from here and up there. It'll be a while before we could go live from here again. I don't know, a month, 2 months, who knows?
Are they taking the stuff out of that back room there to bring it
No,
over?
If you're meeting up there, then we probably can, but we don't need that now for the
Okay.
new building. So,
So that's sort of the discussion, I think, for the
if you
committee.
didn't want to go live, you could stay here.
So it'd be like a one-day tape delay?
Yeah, probably,
Yeah,
but the other room is so nice.
yeah.
If you
Sounds like he likes it.
you may
I
want
think he
to-
likes it.
All right.
And that's strictly just a meeting room, right? It's not like
Yeah,
someone
all
else's
the
conference room
Microphones
that...
will be set up permanently, the desk is set up permanently. You gotta go see it, it's really nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the committee to discuss tape delay here, or live there, or a hybrid combo platter of living in both worlds for a little while?
I think we had talked about maybe like at least going there for a meeting so that we can, we can see the space, we can experience it, and then if it's gonna take a month or so anyways, here, but then at the same time, we talked about we're the school committee, so continuing to meet out of the school makes sense too, but it's absolutely worth at least going to see
Yeah.
the new space, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd be for having it there next month, especially with the fact that it would be live and it's the meeting for our public hearing.
Correct.
So I think that would be beneficial to the public.
Yeah.
So,
I agree. I mean, to test the waters, but it'd be nice to have an upgrade.
Yeah.
yeah,
Joe, Bettina, feeling the same way? Yeah.
that's good.
So Jackie, I'll make a note here for our April meeting that we will go to have April meeting at new town hall. So I'll talk to them about what the agenda, the address and all that jazz.
Okay.
Yeah. Connect with Jackie. Great, okay.
But there shouldn't be anything that like overlaps, like other town meetings, all of that, like cost us off to a meeting,
True.
another meeting right now.
Yeah.
I
So
think
I
the
guess-
library meets, the trustees at the library might meet the same time we do. I'm not 100%
Okay.
sure, but maybe.
So I guess we just want to make
I'll
sure.
ask that question, yeah.
Yeah.
Ask Jackie if there's someone I can start that night.
Mm-hmm.
What's the date of that? April 6th, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I just looked at it, yeah. Yep.
Okay. Great, I will get all those details and we'll communicate that out.
Any other thoughts or comments on that topic?
No?
It'll be nice to see the
Is
new
it
space.
better space too for the public in terms of like seating and?
I don't know, I haven't seen
Yeah.
it, but I would
so
hope with the new build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if it's built for that reason,
Yeah,
Dave, I
there's
would
probably
think
more space.
potentially,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, okay, next up is report of the assistant superintendent.
All right, good evening, everyone, including the Drive's financial report for March. And as you know, we are in a hard freeze, and we're continuing with that, and will be for the rest of the fiscal year. Concerns are, again, looking at the revenue side of our revolving accounts and seeing if we can meet those applied income obligations, but also looking at FY '28, FY '29, trying to smooth that out as well. So if we have that opportunity to do that, it'll be something for the committee to consider as we head into April and May and get ready to start closing the books. I think that when we have our meetings with our liaison team members from Select Board and FinCom, they're going to have some feedback and recommendation about how we should proceed with closeout. And so that will be good for the committee to hear all that feedback and then make informed decisions about how we go forward for closeout of FY '26. So I'll stop and answer any questions the committee may have about the financial report. The variances you see, most of them, like when you see the big variances, the timing issues. What we have posted on our books, we're just waiting for town hall to post. But it's not like, oh, we've got something and they don't even know what it is. They have a process just like we have a process. And they're also in the middle of a move. So when you see the variances, it's not because there's something wrong, it's just timing.
Anybody have any questions about that?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is report of the principals. And Jeff, it's all you.
It's a poll.
Yes.
I thought I was going to have all kinds of room over here tonight.
Right?
It's crowded.
Dude, I don't know what he means by that, but
Don't read into it. So between vacation and our extended vacation, February kind of flew by and not a ton. Big things happened in the school. We did have the fourth grade poetry cafe, of which one of our esteemed members of the school committee was in attendance. Mr. DeBonis got to see fourth grade poetry cafe, which there was 2 shifts, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. Kids wrote original poetry. They read some existing poetry. They wrote some of their own, shared it with the families. Always a good time and well attended. Our enrollment, right now we are sitting at 464 students pre-K through 6. 401 of them are in grades 3 through 6. We got 1 new student last week. And what may only be interesting to me, but I'll share it with you anyway, we are +8 on students this year. So we've had, since the summer, we've had 16 students move in grades 3 through 6, and we had 8 that moved out. So we are +8 on the year.
Did you say 464?
464 pre-K through 6.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Upcoming is MCAS, and I believe it is 3 weeks from Wednesday. We kick it off with 6th grade ELA, and then it's pretty much just about every day for a couple weeks, and then we do some makeups, and then we come back from April vacation, and we start with math right up until Memorial Day. So, year's over. Look at that. That's about all I got for you.
Thank you. Do we have anything from Mike, or?
We do not.
Okay.
No.
Then moving on to new business. First is gifts and grants.
I don't think we have any. Jeff, you don't have any, correct?
Do not.
Great. And I know Mike did not indicate that he had any as well. That's just an ongoing item that we always leave on there.
Okay. Then next is before and after school tuition.
Great. So this is a follow-up from our conversation last month. So last month we had talked about tuition rates for pre-K and tuition rates for before and after school programming. And the committee moved forward with a tuition adjustment on pre-K programming. And as we discussed at the meeting last time, we had a conversation around, let's just look what attendance looks like and before school program, after school program, half days. And so we had asked Kevin, who's here, and asked Matt and Kevin just to switch spots just for a minute, just so you guys can, just so Kevin can present that data. And so in the drive, Kevin will walk us through the document that he put together. It's a PowerPoint titled Middleton Before and After School Program. If it's okay with the chair, I can turn it over to Kevin Husson.
Yes, please.
yeah.
So just have everybody get into that document first. Please and thank you.
All right. Everyone in? Mm-hmm. All right, well, thank you. I want to give credit to Stacy Balicki first, because she did a lot of the deep dive search for all this data and digging through record for the past few years. So I had hoped to go back to 2021-22, but at that time the attendance was still being recorded by the secretary here at Fuller Meadow, who has since retired. So we had a hard time retrieving that data. So we have the last 4 years, and with Steve's help, you'll see here he highlighted the year we had the last tuition hike increase, 2023-2024. The second slide shows the average daily attendance before school. What we did was we took the first week of every month, so September, October, and we took the 5-day attendance and just found the average. So I didn't calculate 180 school days, just took the first week of each month. And you'll see here, so that number reflects the average attendance Monday through Friday during the first week of the month. Second slide, you'll see the same for the after-school program. Again, just took the average for the first week of each month. And the top there does show the district enrollment, total Fuller Meadow and Howell Manning. And the bottom there, the average, that's the average number of students who are attending the after-school program on any given day. And the third slide, this was a bit trickier. I know it was asked about the early release days. So what I did here was try to correlate the calendars each year, because a lot of the early release days are the same, not the same date, but we do have 2 fall early release days for conferences and the Friday prior to vacations, things like that. So you'll see, for example, we always seem to have an early release day the first mid-September. It's either the 12th, 13th, or 14th. That first, the DO, that was a delayed opening that we were experimenting with, so I didn't include that in the average on the bottom. But again, the rest you'll see all of the averages along the bottom. So those are the average number of students who are attending the early release days. And even as far as the first half of this year as well, you'll see. And then I believe on the fourth slide, you'll see this is how many students are enrolled. And again, this was just September, but how many students are enrolled during each time period. So from 3 o'clock to 4:30, this year we have, and that probably should say, I think that should say 2020, that's 25, sorry. So 57.5 kids are there on average from 3 to 4:30, and obviously it decreases as the time goes on here. But pretty consistent if you look the big picture. There really isn't a big fluctuation. I did speak with Janet Balicki, and she did mention that prior to COVID, the after-school program, we did average probably 80 kids per day. So I think that was, we lost some students pre-COVID attendance, but in the last slide there, you'll see Steve put this in. This would show what a proposed 10% increase would look like, but certainly happy to answer any questions that anybody has about the data, how it was compiled, or any questions.
And I think what the numbers show on slides 2, 3, was even that after that tuition hike, if you go back to slide 2, the numbers continue to grow, right? 21.6, and then there was the tuition hike, and then 23.1 and 28.9 for before school. After school, same thing, incremental increases. But I think the question we had at last meeting was, like, after that tuition hike, was there a drop, right? And I think this demonstrates that wasn't the case. It was either even or incrementally went up.
Well, thank you for pulling this together.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I want Stacy Balicki, she did a lot of the heavy lifting here, so I compiled it all, but she certainly was pouring through all the file cabinets and digging up the data, so I want to just give her a shout out.
Thank you to her.
And Steve, on slide 6, you guys talked a bit about you recommending a 10 on that.
Correct.
And I think if I remember correctly from a previous meeting, you might be recommending a 10 for multiple years, just in terms of making sure the program stays solvent, or we're not
Correct.
having to use operating too. So just how did you arrive at 10?
Just looking at how we're expending. So when you look at the financial report and you look at the before and after school, and you look at the revenue, the rate, how it's been coming in versus how our expenditures are tracking, we want to curtail it. We want to be money in, money out. We had to do, as a couple of years ago, go to the 70% to get to that point. And just to add a little more context to it, remember that the program also evolved in terms of how it was delivered and what we delivered and why, compared to how it was in the past. So the costs went up. And so we, eyes wide open, we worked away at the balance. This was this is what we did. And now we're at that point, like, okay, now we need to start really ramping up on the tuition costs so that we can maintain the same level of service. So with that, and looking at it and seeing how we're expending and how do we curtail that to level it out and avoid it having to be subsidized by a local appropriation or the general fund, it's time, for 10%, and we may be looking at FY28, 10%, FY29, 10%, to keep it that way. Because the costs are going up, and, they're not going to be going down, unless we change the delivery of service.
thoughts, feedback from the team?
I think it's a good proposal. I like the incremental increase over time. I think, you had to dip, you said, into the general fund to offset the cost, and based on the budgetary strains we have every single year, it's better off to go up a little bit every year and stay solvent.
I do agree with going up every year incrementally, because the 70% a few years ago was
Yeah.
a big jump.
Yes.
So I like that you're thinking ahead, you're trying to do that. I would like to see 5% increase if that's feasible, because if you're looking at 3 years down the road, you're looking at, for someone that's going 5 days a week, over $500, and remember, June, there's only 2 weeks, and February vacation, so there's only 3 weeks, and as a dual working family, it is hard to, you see the taxes go up, you see everything up, all these sports fees going up, and then on top of it now after school's going up again. I just feel like you're going to continue to drop kids. Obviously, this data doesn't show dropping kids, so I like that. Personally, I know 5 children that left the system because of the increase that year. So I would like to see 5%. I don't know if that's feasible.
That's the will of the committee. You just go into it, and if you do, and if the committee chooses to go 5%, we watch it over FY '27, so you'll see, let's call it real time. You'll see as revenues are coming in, as expenses are going out, as we get into May and June, you have May, you'll have a decent picture of, okay, how did we fare? My goal is to try to curtail or really avoid cutting into the opening balance. We did it in the past, but we're just at that point now. We want to get it level.
Yeah.
But again, it's the will of the committee. We try to give you all that data, and you make informed decisions. Because at the end of the day, it's the school committee's budget. And this is part of it.
I hear what you're saying with the 5%. I just worry that if we do increase it by just the 5% and we realize later on that it was a mistake, I'd rather not do 15% the year after. Or if we do the 10% and say, okay, maybe it was too much, maybe we don't do 10% in the next budget.
Yeah.
So I think that we basically I'd like to do the 10% and then just watch it in the next year.
I agree with that. I'm just hopeful that it's not, as we motion and move forward, it's not 10%. I forget how it was
You'll do it
phrased
every year.
before, but it was be every year.
Yes.
Yeah,
So we'll
I don't want to
make
make it like a habit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I think after year 3, $530 for that program is a little much. But again, it depends on the finances at that time.
Absolutely.
I also like the idea of 10% this year, make sure we are good, and then to reevaluate, and if it needs to be 10 next year, then maybe it does, but if it doesn't, same thing. Then we look at 5, or we see where we're,
Yeah, we can always
See where we're at.
revisit this data and how we built it, and give you another year of data.
Yeah.
And then you can make that informed decision. However it is, this year, next year, we just want you to know. And that's all.
Maybe I'm missing it, but one thing that this data doesn't seem to appear is the breakout by grade. So it doesn't say we have X amount of,
Hal Manning versus Fuller Meadow, is that what we're
yeah,
going by?
or so in March you had 31 students. Well, it doesn't tell us how many are in kindergarten who could potentially be in the after-school program for the next 6 years versus somebody who's in 4th grade who is only going to be in the program for 3 more years.
That makes total sense, yeah. I can certainly get that data. I mean, I do have, right
Yeah.
now I have it as.
Or maybe some kids age out of it, their parents would be like, okay, we don't really need this when our kid's in 4th grade anymore, or,
Yeah, we do see fewer 5th and 6th grade students in the program for sure. But
Okay.
I do have some data that breaks it down by just Fuller Meadow and Hal Manning students. I mean, I could certainly get that data for you, grade by grade, even just if it's just this year, how many kindergarten students are in. I can get that for you.
I mean, I don't think you really need to get it. It would just be kind of interesting to see, how many students stayed with it from K all the way to 6.
Right, right.
You know, it's probably not.
I would think there's a natural drop-off as like
Yeah.
sports start and,
Right.
you know, Horizon start, and a lot of that stuff tends to be geared towards third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade.
For sure, oh, for sure.
I guess
yeah,
is it
yeah.
probably, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, and like when kids get older, like they meet the age requirement for exploration station type things, so they may not need to go to the after-school program.
Yeah, no,
You know, so-
agreed, yeah, absolutely. Again, I could put together some.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you need to, but I don't know, I just wanted to call out that I don't think it's, every student that's in it is in it for like 6 years.
For sure, yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Is there a break for multiple, if you have multiple kids in the program, or is it the same?
I think that in the brochure, there's a break for multiples.
I believe so, yes. I
Yeah,
have to
it's in
look
the,
that
if
up.
you look at the brochure, Joe, and I forget the exact percentages, but there is a break for that.
Any financial aid if a family can't afford?
Not financial aid, and so let me correct my answer. None of the programs are designed for, let's call them scholarships. But what we did back, this was right around the Romney years, Dr. Morrison, because we were running into issues with that if families completed a free and reduced lunch application, we would give them a 10% discount. But there's not anything more than that, and that's for any of the fee-based programs, because they're just not designed to absorb that. And the argument also becomes, well, that means I'm paying for this student, you know, that they're being subsidized by other people that are paying the fees. So that's the two-sided piece of it. And of course, it's all open to discussion. We take direction from the committee, but from historical perspective, that's how we got to where we are now.
Are we looking for a vote?
Yes, please.
Or a motion? Any further discussion?
Well, I agree. I think that going up to 10% this year, but reevaluating year after year and not making this like it's going to continuously be 10, I think that's fair.
Agreed.
Okay.
Okay. So we need a motion to, Steve, what's our motion?
Motion to increase before and after school fees 10% across the board for FY '27.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And Kevin, can you make sure to talk to the folks who put the handbook together and connect with Steve and just make sure that as we plan for 27, that's all captured in the,
For sure.
and it might not be a bad idea to, you know, from the principal perspective, just to tease that in a newsletter, like, hey, just as you're planning for 27, please be advised that, you know, there'll be a tuition increase. If you want to put a blurb together for,
Yeah.
you know, the How Manning and the Fuller Meadow newsletter.
Yeah, we can do that for sure,
That'd be
yeah.
helpful.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Okay, hey, you're welcome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay. Up next is FY '27 budget discussion.
Great. So in the drive for the committee, just to kind of do a reset, we have our document that we have been working from since probably December, January timeframe. So it's the Sheets document, Middleton School Committee meeting document. It'll say 221. That was sort of last update because that's when we got the health insurance information. So Steve will kind of do a refresh, just to kind of remind everybody of where we came from, what the latest information is, and then we'll talk a little bit about, when he gets to the bottom, about what potential next steps could look like.
Thank you, Dr. Morrison. Good evening, everyone. I'm assuming everyone can access the Google Sheet that shows all the information. And unless the committee wants me to, I'm not going to rehash all of the particulars that we've been talking about over the past couple of months. Then I'm going to go right to the really good news and then look for guidance from the committee. So the health insurance rates, as you know, we originally budgeted a 20% increase on the premium. Premium increase came in for Middleton at 2.9%. So that's fantastic. This equates to a savings of $334,390. Now, that's the 20%, and then we also went back and looked at the retirees again, because a retiree moving from, let's call it a Blue Cross plan to MedX is a massive savings. So we had a couple of those, so that contributed to this positive number. And so that would be the first thing that we would ask the committee to memorialize or approve the premium, health insurance premium increase of 2.9%, which is a reduction to the budget of $334,390. So if does that make sense for everybody? Is there any
Yes.
questions?
So instead, we budgeted for a 20% increase, it came back at 2.9%.
Correct.
Okay. And did we get any sort of reason as to why that happened?
Well,
or-
one of the big ones has to do with the GLP-1 drugs,
Okay.
and that they're not being covered by Blue Cross Blue Shield anymore, and
Okay.
Maya will not be covering them for, as of July 1. Now, this is for weight loss. If there are other medical reasons why it's being prescribed, then of course, then it would be covered. But for the weight loss circumstance, I mean, that was one of the big drivers for this. So that's the long and the short of it. Is that fair? Did I miss anything?
No, I think it's very fair, and I would say, if we still needed, if it came in at 20, we'd still be sitting here talking about we have to cut another $200,000 from the budget, right? I mean, that's the difference that we're talking about. And just for the sister towns, Boxford came in at 10,
10.13,
and Topsfield was,
6.7.
yeah. So Middleton was like knock you off your chair kind of a number.
Yeah.
And we'll hope that carries the day moving forward. But, I think in the future, Steve and I have talked, maybe it's still carrying, maybe not 20 in future years, but what are you thinking, Steve, 10, 12, something like that as a number?
Yeah.
As a placeholder just to be on the safe side, because again, the 2.9 really seemed like an aberration, but I think it's just important to state that, if that hadn't come in at 2.9, we'd be sitting here talking about $200,000 in continued reduction, so.
Beyond that, I know that there was discussion on the insurance split.
Yes.
What the staff pays versus what the town covers. So
Yep.
have there been any decisions on that?
No, nothing outside of our liaison meeting where I don't think a final decision has been made. I think they're looking at, can we do something, right? Is something like 1% as opposed to 2% this year? But I don't think, my understanding is, and Richard I see out there is nodding his head, still being under consideration?
Full consideration, we'll discuss it on Saturday.
Perfect. So still under review, and the most would be a 2% change and something less or nothing at all. So undecided at the moment.
Okay.
So what that does, as you scroll, so as you look at line or row 26, as Steve had talked about, that reflects the premium increase in the savings from what Steve did with the retirement review, and then with the 20% coming in at 2.9. If you go down to row 48, the last measures that were taken at the February meeting were to reinstate 20 for PD and 20 for supplies. And so that health insurance number, that 334,390, Steve, just talk a little bit about what row 48 means.
Sure. So when we look at row 48, that at the end of the day, after the health insurance savings and everything else that the committee has approved, we are below the 2.5% guideline by $137,628. So the question becomes, and this ties in with Mr. Prentakis's comment earlier, does the committee want to take any action to put anything back in the budget? Or does the committee want to leave the budget as is, and so that it helps the town with its budgetary gap right now? That this 137,000, 138,000 below the guideline helps the town's overall situation, because right now there is still a gap.
Can you talk a little bit, sorry, Michelle, can you just talk a little bit more about that, Steve, just from, because we've heard that from multiple partners, right? We've heard it from our FinCom partners, our Select Board partners, Town Hall, and also at the Saturday meeting. Can you just talk a little bit about that gap right now that the town is seeing?
Mr. Gregorio, correct me if I misspeak, but it's around 600,000?
Is it okay if we recognize Mr. Gregorio from FinCom?
The budget gap that the town has right now is about 600,000?
It's about 600,000, that's what I understand. I'll get that numbers on Friday, but the insurance, we were at 860, the insurance saved us about 300,000, brought us down to 560. However, the new estimates for the new facility
Yes, yes.
now reaching higher, and
Yeah.
so did the compensation. So my guess is we're about 500,000 to 600,000.
Okay, so just one quick question. So if we made no changes to our budget and we had that 137,000 left over
To the good.
to the good, so what I'm hearing is that money could then be removed from our budget to cover any gaps in other town departments.
That's a request that has come forward.
Okay. So, I mean, I see the purpose of, the request. My concern is, that money has been earmarked for the schools, and we all know that things come up. I have a question about the stabilization fund and if we need to be putting more money back in there. I know that we took some out of it last year. And then if we decided to help out any other departments in the town, looking at next year's budget, I would, if we got a 2.5% increase, I would like that 2.5% increase to be on the number that we have this year, not the number that we have this year minus 137,000.
That's a fair conversation.
Yeah, so those are kind of my thoughts there.
And can I just answer, Dave, before you jump in, Michelle's first question? Which went out of my brain?
So I asked about the stabilization.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So the stabilization would be more of a FY26 endeavor, because we would look to see, are there tailings at the end, right?
Okay.
And then with tailings, sometimes we decide and have a conversation about, do we want to buy a little extra paper for the following year to get ahead of the game, or do we want to invest in stabilization or reserve? John from FinCom and Steve are working on those numbers. They always work very closely together, John Erickson and Steve Greenberg. I don't know if you've heard back from John.
Oh, yeah, so I sent it, he sent it back to me.
Okay.
And I think now the discussion will continue about that analysis, and if funding is going back into that stabilization account, how much and where is it coming from? So.
And that would be a 26 endeavor, not related to this 137 from 27, correct?
It's not related to the 137.
Correct.
It would, and Richard, again, correct me if I misspeak, but if it's coming from tailings from the school department, that has to be certified in
Yes,
free cash.
and then put back.
And, so it's not just going to happen.
The machinations, yeah.
Yeah, there's a process. But that means if it's coming, let's say, from school tailings, that means we have to commit to school tailings, in some way, shape, or form. And so they'll be looking to see what our spending actuals are for special education versus our budget. So even though we're provided all the way through the 26 budget, I think the next question that will come from the liaison team is, what does our spending trend look like compared to the budget, to help that discussion continue. The other thing I'll just also remind the committee about is Steve Greenberg saying to you, I'm trying to also smooth out the landing for 28, 29 with the revolving accounts, which means if we don't have to take as much from applied income from the revolving accounts to help us out for future years, that's another competing interest. So it's going to be interesting and productive discussions about all of these interests if we have any tailings.
And that's all 26?
Yes,
FY26.
all of 26, and it's, the benefits, future benefits. Does that make sense for everyone?
Yeah, and Michelle's perspective on if the committee decided to give some or all back, making sure a 2.5 in the future, if the guideline was a 2.5, was built on the number now.
A 2.5% increased
Yeah.
budget over 26
An interesting
versus
conversation.
2.25 or 2, whatever it is, yeah.
I'd like to just make a comment about what we've already curtailed off the budget, which is, I'd like to take a look at the professional development, which I know took one of the largest cuts out of all the line items, and also, I know we gave back some to that, and we also gave back some to supplies. We could take a look at supplies, but I think facilities and professional development is definitely something I want to look at in terms of keeping some of the money.
And I think, Peggy, you had mentioned, I think it was you, that like supplies, like that basically come the end of what, next year, if we were taking that money out, that come the end, it would be looking pretty bare. So it would be, and we did put some back in there, but again, we don't know what's coming down the road. So again, anything that we can pad to make sure that we're, I don't know if pad's the right word, maybe that's a bad word.
Well, I can look towards the
But
future
so that
based
we're-
upon the previous
okay.
elections. Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm in favor of doing that as well.
It's a little conflicting because we all want to help the town, and there's a lot of financial things, but we were elected to be on the school committee. And out of the three categories that we cut, Mike's not here, but will those cuts something that are going to give the kids less of a quality education? I mean, I know they went through them and they took a lot of time and figured out, we could get rid of this, we could get rid of supplies, we could get rid of some professional development, but are those cuts impacting the kids? And I wouldn't feel right giving that money back if we're negatively impacting the kids, because we were elected to be here
Yep.
to represent the families for the schools, not the, whether it's police, fire, or town, and everything needs to get funded, but I wouldn't feel right if, and I guess those answers would have to come from you and Jeff and yourself, but if you feel that those cuts that we made are going to negatively impact the kids, then I would be for putting that money back in. We weren't really involved in all those line item cuts. You've spent hours and hours with your team.
Yep.
So I'd like to hear
Yep.
feedback from
Sure
you
thing.
guys about what those existing cuts mean to the students.
Yep. So
In
you're
your
talking about line
opinion.
16, 17, and 18 there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's the three areas that we've cut, correct?
We call those the pre-cuts, right? So
Yes.
before we even walked in the door, we brought to the committee a budget that had already been reduced by, let me just tally those quick, 200, and call it 220, it's 217, but just let's do round numbers. So we pre-cut the budget by 220,000, right?
Right.
And so I can start the conversation, and then Steve, Jeff, Peggy, others can jump in as well. So when that work was done, just as a reminder, in the past, we've always done that sort of zero-based budgeting model, like, okay, what do we need for this year as we look forward? This year, we looked at it as, okay, we're going to use ClearGov, and we're going to take a little bit of a different approach, where we're going to look at actuals and add an inflationary rate to it, right? So when Steve did that work, he looked at FY25 actuals. What did we spend on supplies and consumables in 25? What did we spend on PD in 25? What did we spend on facilities in 25? And then he added a 3% inflationary factor to it. Now, as we've said at the meetings throughout the budget season so far, that's a little bit of a gamble, right? In the sense of, maybe Peggy got a PD grant that year, and it artificially lowered her spending because we had a grant to pay that money. And so Steve looked at that and said, holy smokes, we had X in there, we only spent X, let me do X times plus 3%. But maybe that X was offset by a grant, or same thing with supplies and consumables or facilities. Maybe we had a better year on snow that year, and the facilities number was a little bit low, right? So every reduction has an impact, right? There's no question about that. The and that I'll put along with it is, and the work that we try to do in balance to try to right-size things is, we've also looked at, right-sizing sections, right-sizing some of the staffing positions, right? So if you think you're being down sections, like, it kind of makes sense to be a little bit down supplies and materials, right? If you think of being down sections, it makes sense to be a little bit down in PD and things like that. So there's that analysis that comes together as well. Right now, the differential, again, we're going to use round numbers, it's 217, the pre-cuts, we're just going to call it 220 for round numbers. The committee decided to put 20 back into PD and 20 back into supplies and materials, right? So now the differential is 180 in terms of what we're walking in with pre-cuts. So I'll leave sort of that commentary there. Look to Steve, look to Peggy, look to Jeff to add any additional thoughts.
No, my commentary would really be geared towards the methodology, and then I would also comment about the right sizing. That, as we're right sizing sections, we can also right size consumables. But now that discussion about impact, I would absolutely take feedback from, the leadership team, the principals, Peggy, what does it possibly translate to in terms of positives or negatives in terms of delivery of service?
Peggy?
So I had said last time, I kind of, and I appreciated the fact that you added back in the $20,000. That was like a minimum addition back in, that assuming that we get a level amount of grant funding that we've had historically, which we won't know till July, that should be like enough to at least put us on par with the other two towns, right? And to be able to do our major initiatives. There's no wiggle room there though, right? So that is like exactly what we would need to be able to do what we are setting out to do next year. That PD line is a little bit misleading because it also includes all of the stipends that we have for the district, so any committees that we might be putting together. So there's no extra funding there either. So say we needed to put together like an ad hoc committee, something comes up, we want to study it, we would have no funding in the budget to do that kind of work, right? So that's another way in which it just reduces our like flexibility, I guess, or maybe that's not quite the right word. Our ability to respond to needs on the ground, right? Like we're constrained therefore by the budget, because the grants don't typically allow us to do that kind of stipend funding for committees. So that's just one way in which I would see being so close to the bone. If we had a need to start to study something like for the future, we would be limited in our capacity to do that. When it comes to the supplies, I think a lot of the cuts, it wasn't so much that like we wanted to make those cuts to supplies, but people felt like we'd rather cut the supplies than cut a teacher, right? And so we were trying to be very proactive in helping the town to avoid an override, that we were, absorbing really big cuts heading into this process, but we are leaving ourselves lean when it comes to the materials. We've been in a budget freeze since the fall, so we haven't been replenishing anything. We're kind of using up our current supplies right now. So what does that mean heading into next year? And I can't account for like all the little details, but it's just lean, right? So anytime you have something that's that lean, our ability to be nimble and kind of like respond to things, or something comes up, our ability to be able to purchase that is just limited. So it's hard for me to be more specific than that right now, but I think that's the impact of like we are building budgets, 6 months before we need them and like a year and a half before that budget cycle ends. It's hard for us to anticipate every need that will emerge in that time frame. And as we're kind of planning ahead, sometimes things come up. We didn't necessarily think about it in terms of the budget process, but it is a need. We also didn't do zero-based budgeting this year, so like I might have put into the budget a request to increase stipends for something, but we didn't construct our budget this year that way. It was based on what we were currently doing and then like the reductions. So it wasn't even a conversation that we were able to have this year as we thought about what we might want to put in place for future planning. So I don't know if that's helpful, but those are some of the impacts I would see of having a budget this lean.
Jeff?
Yeah. I don't know if this would be helpful or probably not, but I mean, I can make an argument for bringing back every single one of the lines, so it's hard to say that one is more impactful than another. Because again, I think I could go through each one of them. I mean, it might be harder in some of the sections in terms of enrollment, but I could argue that every single one of those is important, and I'd like to bring it back. So I don't know that I have a good answer for you in terms of what needs to come back, if that makes sense.
But it's all negatively impacting the education.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Scott said, anytime you're decreasing or taking something away, it's going to have an impact. And I don't know that you can say that one is more negative than another.
Okay.
Steve, facilities?
I think as I look ahead into next year and the years to follow, I'm curious to see how the model will work out, because oftentimes in facilities, it's a little bit more dynamic than the ed side in terms of a steady population, a steady staff roster. The buildings, will ebb and flow due to weather conditions and, cold and heat and equipment failure. It's very unpredictable. We're going to try to obviously stretch resources, to their maximum always. But, with the model of what was the experience during that fiscal year and then an escalation factor, there could be a lot of stories to tell on that baseline year that kind of set that tone. And then you're working with that 3%, and then, all right, there's where, now we're landed here. So it's something I want to get used to and try to, work and fine tune it the best I can moving forward. And, obviously, look out for the interests of the district and make sure the facilities are prepared and cared for.
Can I ask, what is the 23,000 reduction? What is that affecting in terms of the budget?
I mean, you really have to start out with making a separation between like contractual commitments,
Yeah.
stuff that is scheduled and, predicted and deliberate that we do every year.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff is certification stuff that, we have to get done. And we also want to, maintain relationships and partnerships with our supporting contractors, because, they're doing things that we are not physically able to or technically able to do. So you don't want to, blow all that up. So it really comes down to, what are the elective options? And in that kind of a condition, it's, you pretty much take the elective stuff off the table for now. And you just try to stand fast and stay above water.
And just so I understand, on that money that's there, is that in a fund that's available for, let's say, if a heating system, a heater goes, or hot water heater, is there certain money set aside for, like you said, it's unpredictable, right? Something could go,
Yeah.
Air conditioning unit, whatever. So is that part of that fund right there? Is that part of that money?
Well, I would defer to Steve on the distribution of it, but I think it's kind of distributed over all the accounts that I manage.
Okay.
If I may, Dave, there is no contingency
No.
for let's call it a catastrophic failure.
Yeah.
That's not, we've never built a budget that way, just because it would be very challenging to get it passed.
Okay.
So, the answer is no. If we had a catastrophic failure, the sequence of events would be freeze the budget, inform Select Board and Finance Committee, look for any financial support if possible. If not, we're trying to cover it in our budget in the year that it happens.
I was just trying to understand how it works. Okay,
Yep.
thank
And
you.
that's where that sort of partnership, right, that school-town partnership piece,
Yeah.
comes into play. There are times that we may need to have a conversation with the town. It's clear the town is trying to have a conversation with us. I would say on row 18, to go back to a point I made a few minutes ago, that's the least dependent on, like, we reduced 3 sections, right? The facilities, that's not, you know what I mean? Like supplies and materials, you can kind of see there's a little bit of a correlation to we're down 3 sections. PD, you can see there's a little bit of a correlation, we're down 3 sections. Facilities is, whether we have 18 sections or 21 sections, the facility is the facility in that regard. So that's, as you just sort of ponder all of this, just know that I would sort of separate out from PD and supplies and consumables. That's not really section dependent. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It sounds like people are interested in reinvesting at least some of what we have here. Does anybody want to, do we need specifics on how much, where, how does?
Can I give a recommendation? If the committee decides to put anything back in the budget, I'd recommend that the language in the motion would be at the discretion of the superintendent in consultation with the chair, so you're not pinning yourself down, and that we can go back with the leadership team, have those discussions and report out. But if you're going to say, hey, put funds back in, and if you want to say into facilities, then we can go back and work on where the specific lines and facilities, or if you want to say district-wide, whatever it is. But if I could recommend, at the discretion of the superintendent in consultation with the school committee chair, whatever that is.
That's Sorry, Steve, say that last part again?
At the discretion of the superintendent in consultation with the school committee.
Yeah, unless there was a specific thing like,
Right.
hey, we'd like to,
With $10,000.
yeah, back into this.
I'd just like to have more of a discussion about
Yeah.
what's needed. And, we have the ability to get back to some of these line items, and I think we just have to understand better what makes sense.
And I think the thing, to think about too is this is, as you're reinvesting, we're not guaranteed a 2.9 next year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is just a little bit of that piece as well. So I think reinvesting in, if you're going to reinvest, those seem to be the categories, because like, we could be here next year going, okay, remember that 20,000 we put back in facilities? We're back here again, trying to take it out because we didn't get a 2.9 health insurance rate, kind of a thing.
Well, the whole process is tough because we're working with fake numbers up until,
Right.
even now, we don't have the exact.
Sure.
So we're making cuts, and now all of a sudden it looks like we have extra money, and I understand the town says, oh, they have extra money, look, can we have it?
Correct.
But we don't have extra money.
Right. Again, we'd be cutting another 200,000, Joe, if we came in at 20.
Right. So, I mean, I can understand from a town perspective that they say, all right, we can help it out, but we've cut, and the principals, they know what they need. We're not in the schools, but I wouldn't feel right. It looks like we have extra money to get back to the town, but we don't. We've already cut, so I wouldn't feel comfortable representing the families of students giving that money back. But I wouldn't feel comfortable putting it in a specific spot tonight either. I'd rather your team get together and say, okay, with this money, and then come back to us with the plan. Maybe you'll come back and say, hey, we have 40,000, 50,000 get back, or maybe you'll come back and say, there's nothing there that we recommend.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd be more comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with Joe too on that, and, if it comes back and, they, no further recommendations, or it's a small number to put back into the budget, I would like to get my question answered about looking at the budget season for next year, is if we did turn some back to the town, what would our budget for next year be based of what our budget was at the end of the budget cycle for
Right.
this year, or what our budget was with the
Yeah.
2.5%?
Totally understand the question.
So
Like, if
I
you
don't
gave
want to,
50
I don't want to
If you gave 50
back.
back for a round number,
Yeah,
the 2.5 should be well done, this budget plus 50.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So I know our next meeting isn't till April, and that's the budget hearing meeting, but maybe we need to have something in between.
Yep. I'd like to be part of that.
And I would like I agree the same thing, not to say specifics, but I think everything that we looked at reducing. We have those three major categories, but if we have money to put back in, then put it back to the administrative team to see where it makes the most sense. And then at the end, if there is some thing left, I'm not opposed to giving that back to the town. We've worked really well with them. But if there's not, then I will be okay with that, too.
So just so I'm hearing it correctly, you would like us to look at that 137,628, see where it could be best utilized, and then if, we come back and say to you, we think we can do this, and there's X left over, that's sort of like where you'd like us to hit?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that.
yeah.
And then, Michelle, I can't answer that question, right?
I do know that on.
The set question about next year.
Right, I think it's next Monday, we have,
Yeah,
There's a
we do, a
liaison
liaison
meeting.
meeting.
it's at 8 AM. I wouldn't be able to attend that.
Okay.
But if we could have, if you could have that conversation.
Yeah, we may be able to have it on Saturday, right? We're here for
Right,
capital.
yes.
And
Yep.
the boards will ask us for an update on operating. And we can talk about what was discussed here tonight. And that question could be posed at that meeting on Saturday.
Okay,
I don't know if we'll get an answer, but that could be posed? I think it's a fair question. Okay, to call on Richard again?
Yes, please.
So first of all, I'm not here looking for the town or looking for the schools. I'm trying to do what's best interest for Middleton as a whole. And to answer your question, the $137,000 would equate to an additional $3,425 for next year. So it's not a big number, 2.5% of the $137,000. It's really not that big of a number. I had a different view, and I had expressed it to you and Steve. In last year, not in criticism of Steve, but in support of Steve, he went through some gyrations at the last moment. Wipe it out, not wipe it out, but replenishing some reserves to balance the budget at literally the 8th hour.
Yes.
My druthers, one person,
Yep.
was always keep the baseline of 2.5% to the two school guidelines and try to come up with that on a consistent basis so you have it solidified. If you have excess, is there any way we can replenish the reserves that we utilized last year?
Yeah. Yeah, and so Richard's point, and that has come up in our conversations with Richard, and it'll probably come up at the liaison meeting on Monday when we have that liaison meeting. But Steve, can you add a little more color to that, like in terms of looking at reserves as opposed to replenishing stuff, looking at that 137 as a potential way to park into reserves? It would have to be an FY27.
Yes, so, okay, got it, that what we would, if that means the budget would go up to 2.5, all right, so you've created, let's call it capacity, you don't
Correct.
spend it all.
You don't spend that 137.
Yeah, you don't spend it, and so then the 137 is used to, we'll call it indirectly, keep us from using the revolving accounts.
Correct.
Yeah, so we don't want to say, put it in revolving accounts, but that's illegal. It's, you are saying, okay, the operating budget can absorb this, and at the school committee's discretion, we're not going to take the applied income from preschool, before and after school, any of the fee-based programs, because we don't need to. You know,
So in that scenario, the 137 stays in the budget and helps the committee in future years with healthier potential revolving funds.
right. So for, specifically, if we say FY '27, if you say, okay, we're putting it back in the budget, but you don't spend it, then what happens is we would not take the applied income from preschool. So that 137 that, or whatever it is that we plan for preschool, that wouldn't happen. All right, so that means it stays in the revolving account. And then you'll have that balance to draw on in future years, so that we can get back to a steady rhythm.
Which could come in handy if next year's health insurance is not 2.9%.
Right. All of that, it does. I mean, it helps all of those things, absolutely. It
And that-
gives us flexibility.
I was just going to say, and that play, so to speak, if you call it a play, it does two things. It puts the 137 back in the budget, and so like next year, if all of a sudden we're like, oh my God, this extra PD thing came along, thank God we had that extra 50 grand in there, right? So now there's 80 left over from that 137, and now at the end of the year, we're taking less from the offset. So that's a little bit of a, a combo platter that meets sort of all the needs in that regard. Does that make sense to folks?
It does.
What Rich was throwing out there? That's sort of a longer-term play. It keeps the money in the school department's account, and it's also setting you up in the future if we run into a situation that, oh geez, we do have to take more from the revolving. Well, thank goodness we have a little healthier balance there, FY '28, FY '29. That's what you're getting at, correct? Yeah.
So it wasn't like the money going back to the town, that was the proposal the whole time.
That's been talked about, that's not,
Right.
my play is a little bit different than what some of the people.
I like that proposal better. I think, giving, it's something to give it back, but it is funds that were allocated for education, and to, give it back, I think I would feel more comfortable with that scenario than, giving it back to the town, which in turn, we might have to come back to you to ask for it the following year anyway. So it stays in our,
Not looking forward to next
Yeah.
year either.
yeah.
I think I would still say, go back to the drawing board, look at what we have here, and then I like that play, should there be, kind of essentially whatever's left.
Right.
Then
Yeah.
to put it in
At
a
the same time,
safe place.
we reach an agreement, 2.5% year after year.
Yeah.
So, would be, if I'm hearing you correctly, then what we're saying is, okay, your FY '28 guideline theoretically would be 2.5%.
Yep.
So you'd build a budget on that, so that answers your question.
Right.
Yep.
You know,
Because it's not-
that, okay, that's what we're gonna get, and then any differential, we're gonna work through applied income if we can, right? Am I, did I
Yes.
interpret everything correctly?
And don't retire.
That's part of this whole deal.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Makes sense.
That's
Thank you.
actually the
No,
motion
I
I'd
like
like to
what
put on the
Jackie
table.
said, you know, go back and.
Yep, we will.
If you have pressing needs that you want to add back in.
Yep.
I just wouldn't feel right taking it from the school budget.
Yep.
You know, that's what we're here
Understood,
for.
Joe. Sure.
and Be kind of counter to what we're trying to do.
Yep. I think we have our homework.
Yeah, thank you.
So do
And
we,
so-
we don't need a motion?
We did the
No.
insurance, right?
Yes.
No, you
we-
need a motion on the insurance.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
okay.
you're
Just the insurance.
taking the insurance discount so that we're reducing the budget by that amount, that 334, for the insurance premium.
2.9%.
But we're not done with the budget.
Okay, okay. So we'll need a motion to approve the insurance, the
Reduction, yeah.
2.9%.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we have the verbiage correct. It's to accept the 2.9%
Insurance
tuition
premium.
increase, and it's to reduce the budget by,
That sort of happens automatically.
Yeah.
happens on, it's 334,
390.
Yeah.
390.
yeah.
Okay, all right, I will second that.
Okay. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Just, thank you, guys. That was a
Thank you very
very
much.
good conversation.
Yep.
Just helpful to us. If we had to put another meeting on the books, we could do a Zoom, like we're still allowed to do that. If we had to do a quick something or other just to get to you before April the 6th. If we were to look at like the week of the 23rd, can folks just kind of identify, like that 23rd, that Monday night, if we had to try to do a Zoom at 5 or something like that?
I could do the 23rd.
Yep, I can do that.
Right, can you all just hold that right now in your calendars?
Same time,
5:30?
5:30?
5 or 5:30, you guys tell me.
5:30.
5:30.
5:30, okay.
Yeah.
So let's just hold that. I'm going to put
Would
potential.
you 8 o'clock, Scott?
Say again, Joe?
8 o'clock?
Dave, sorry. Yeah, 8 o'clock. Yeah. Potential MSC meeting.
And in person or virtual?
What do you guys prefer? I mean, we could do either, but I just thought
I
Zoom
mean,
might be easier.
I always prefer in person,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Sure.
I just think
Okay.
it leaves any connections or
Yep.
whatever out of the equation.
Folks feel the same? Fine? Okay. So let's just hold it for now. I'll communicate with Jackie for the team. Can you hold that in your calendars as well, folks that are from the leadership team? Just hold 5:30 on March 23rd. And then I'll have Internet swing out a time for us to gather so we can regroup on the homework assignment. Great, productive, thank you.
Okay, just one second. Okay. I have to set an alarm so I don't forget about that.
So then our next, it's just really FYI, our next meeting is, at the moment, April 6th. There might be one on March 23rd, but our next meeting is April 6th. That'll be the public hearing on school budget and school choice, and then I have no others.
Because for the bills and payroll, just make sure everybody has signed that. And we will need a motion to approve the bills and payroll as presented.
I will make a motion to approve the bills and payroll as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
I'll make a
Thank you.
motion to adjourn the
Thank
meeting.
you. Yes, it is.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Scott.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
We'll get notification.